Well, I am flying solo today. I don't have my lovely wife isn't here, so I don't know who's gonna keep me on track. She's at work right now, and I figured that I need to make another podcast because a couple reasons. I haven't. It's not that I haven't made a podcast. Yeah, I guess that is a true statement. I have not made a podcast in a while. It's been a couple weeks probably. The other part is that I haven't really uploaded a whole lot to YouTube recently. That's not the whole purpose of this video. That's not what we're getting into here. What we are going to get into here is the more and more that I start to meet people and I start to talk to people and figure out what everyone's trying to do with their lives through YouTube and Instagram and all those different things, the more I realize there are a lot of people who are trying to start a fitness brand or just a brand in general, whether it's like a personal brand or a photography brand or a creative brand. A lot of what I'm around right now is a lot of the creative aspects. So I see that a lot. I see a lot of people trying to build something from the ground. And basically what I want to do is give my 2 cents. So if you are trying to build a clothing line, or if you're going to release some shirts or anything like that, I figured that I've been there 3 times actually. We just had our 3rd release, and I keep picking up different things. And you may not be doing the exact same thing that we are, but I think that I definitely think there's things you can pick up from us. So I thought, in everyone's vested interest, we dropped some knowledge. So, let me think about this. Recently what I've been pushing is the whole speed versus perfection, and that's actually not how I started out. I started out the exact opposite, as in perfection is more important than speed. So when I say that, okay, before I get into so Laura's always the one who has the paper and always writes things down, and I am not that person. I usually just wing it, shoot from the hip. That's kind of how my whole life's been. Like, I always shoot from the hip kind of thing. So before I get into this, here's what this is. I'm going to go through exactly what we have done from day one up until now. How we've gotten through our first release, business-wise, tax-wise, all that little stuff. I'm going to try and give as much detail to you guys as I can, so you guys have a baseline and something to compare to if you have questions. What this is not is, I did not have, and I still don't have, a massive following. So if you already have that, you're a step ahead of me. So I don't like giving advice for situations I haven't been in. So I've not been in a situation where I started something that already had a large following. So if that's where you're at, you can take this. There's still going to be stuff you can get away from this, but I've never been in your shoes. This also isn't a step-by-step booklet for you to follow along with and check things off as you go. Because quite frankly, I don't know if these are the right steps. Some of the stuff, I know some of the steps aren't right, but it's how we did it. It's how I did it. Which doesn't make it right or wrong. It's just how I did it. So take it for what it's worth. So back to day one, when I finally got it sunk into my head that I really wanted to do this. The first thing that I did was I probably spent close to 2 months researching how to set up a business, because I wanted to make sure that I had all my tax liabilities and all that nonsense. I wanted to make sure every single one of my base was covered. So I looked up all of that for way longer than I needed to. I probably read, I read so much about taxes and setting up businesses, what you can and can't do, what you can write off, what you can't write off, all that stuff. Which quite frankly, I didn't need to do, honestly. I've picked up a lot more just being in the cycle of everything and just actually doing than I did researching for those 3 months of how to do it. So basically, December 2015, I finally committed. I got all my ducks in a row, and I applied for all the business licenses and all that sole proprietorship stuff. and I got everything taken care of and squared away. So in December of 2015, WeArePR Clothing became an official brand. And from there, if you know anything about our timeline, I actually didn't release a shirt until October 2016. So we're looking at pretty much a year gap from when I started the business to when I first released a article of clothing, which is not good. Not good at all. There was not that it's not good, it's just it could have been much quicker. At the time, I was living with my parents because I'd just gotten a full-time job because I didn't have any money. So I was brand new at this job, still trying to do all this on the side. So basically, up until this point, I'd never screen printed a shirt. So if the last part of this where I took the 3 months to set up everything was an indicator, that's about what I took researching how to screen print and what you need to do. So I sat and I read books and I watched videos and I read articles and I did just about everything you can do to mentally prepare yourself, but I still didn't do anything. So probably about it was closer to summertime when I actually started doing stuff. But I didn't have a whole lot of money to put towards this at the time. So what I did was I took $50 and I ordered a couple of metal pieces online, and I went and bought wood and I made my very own screen printing stand. My game plan was to make my very own screen printing press, so the actual arm that comes down and holds the screen. My game plan was to make that. And that kind of failed. So I knew I could build the tabletop, so I built the table, and that's actually still what my press is mounted to today. And so I built the table. I tried building the screen holder, and it just was not working. I could not get my woodwork to precise enough levels to where the screen would not slop, so there wouldn't. So the whole thing with screen print is when your screen comes down and you lay down your ink, your screen cannot move at all. If it moves at all, your image starts to shift, which is not what you want. And I could not get that at all. I couldn't get it down. And up until this time, I had not made a single ounce of content. I had a website, I don't even think I had a website at this point. I think I just had built the tabletop. And I was building my own screens, and I didn't really know what I was going to do from there. But I knew I needed some wooden screens. So I built those, and I built my table, and basically I realized that it just was not going to work having my own drop arm, doing my own press. So let's see what happened next. Next, I bought my website domain. Made a website that basically didn't have anything on it besides a homepage, and it said coming soon kind of thing. And up until this point, I really didn't have any pictures. I didn't do any documentation. If I could redo one thing, that would be it. I would go back and I would document everything. I would have documented myself doing the business research. I would have documented creating the website, coding the website. I would have documented building the press, building my screens. I would have documented every single little ounce of this, because looking back 20 years from now, or next year, or 3 years from now, and looking back at where I started, that would have been so cool. You could have made such an awesome video from start to where I am, start to finish kind of thing, which would have been so rad. But I didn't. So, let's see, where does that take me to? So that takes me to, let's fast forward to my very first shirt release, which is, so that I bought, so I should not have spent this much money. So my very first release, I bought so many shirts I did not need to. I think I dropped close to $1,500 in blank t-shirts, which is a lot of shirts. especially for someone who was just like fiddling around with screen printing. But I was so committed to this that I knew this was what I was going to do, and then I knew I could get rid of them and sell them out eventually. It just was going to take some time. But yeah, so up until this point, I had still been in my. I'd moved into my apartment. I was on my own at this point, and I was doing everything myself. So I had made my screens. I was coding them. There was probably a 2 or 3 month learning curve where I didn't make a single shirt. It was just me every single night trying to code a screen, trying to get it to work, and it just was not working at all whatsoever. So after 2 or 3 months of just trying every single thing until I got it to work, I finally got it to work. And that was during that 2 or 3 months, I had bought an actual press that holds screens. Now I still had my own makeshift screens, but now I had like a very cheap press that would would hold registration and wouldn't wobble all over the place on me, which was a good starting place. And it's something that I absolutely needed. So I have that now. So now I'm feeling super cool. I'm printing shirts. And once I started printing, it was almost like an addiction. As weird as that sounds, it was like there were work week nights and weekends where the days just blurred together, and I would literally come home from work at 4 o'clock, stay up till 4 or 5 in the morning, just hammering monsters and energy drinks, whatever I could to stay awake until I got all my shirts printed. And then I would sleep for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and get back up, go to my 8-hour work job, come home, hammer some more energy drinks to stay awake. And in that time, I got all my shirts printed, which was cool. I think my body went immune to caffeine. Because there's this really weird moment that I have this distinct recollection of. I was printing the Tahiti Blue t-shirts, the original short sleeve t-shirts that say Shatter Expectations, and I distinctively remember it was my third monster of the night, and it was about 3 in the morning, I think, and I just opened it, and it was black, and it had some red squiggly lines over it. And I distinctively remember getting about halfway through it, and I fell asleep drinking a monster. And it was that point where I was like, holy cow, I've got to do something about my life. Like, it was bad. It was like, oh my gosh, what are you doing to yourself, kid? And it was just a real, like, humbling, not really humbling, because I tried to change my ways, but at that point I was so close to being done printing these t-shirts that I was just like, okay, we're going to finish these out, and then we've got to catch up on our sleep. So, and for me, catching up on sleep is like 5 to 6 hours a night. That's plenty for me. So, after I had gone through my little mental breakdown, I got all my first release t-shirts printed, which was way too many. I had so many junk ones. Because my screens were awful, my whole process was not good, but I did have some good ones, which is what I sold. And I did so little marketing for it. For that very first release, it was probably like 5 days in advance where I was like, t-shirts are coming. I made a video, I put up a couple pictures on Instagram, and I was like, t-shirts are coming. And then my first night, I remember that I made $80 my first night. The very first night we released t-shirts, I made $80, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be rich kind of thing. And it was just so exciting that I could make money, and I was doing my own thing. And really from that moment, I was hooked. Like, I loved the whole process. And we've slowly started to update things. But that very first release, let's pause there, because I feel like that's where a lot of people are. They're in everything that I've described up until now. That first release kind of sets the tone and is really where everyone is at that I've talked to. You really need to know what you want to do. If you're going to be printing your own, if you're going to be buying them, and how you're going to get it out there kind of thing. The biggest piece of advice I can give you about that first initial release that you do is to market it, is to get it out there, show as many people as you can, get it across, get it onto as many eyeballs as you can. Facebook, Instagram, MySpace, Christian Mingle, I don't care where you get it out at. Get it out there in front of people. That's the biggest thing I can tell you. And there's no such thing as too much hype. You cannot hype it up enough for your first release. But keep in mind that if you are hyping it up and you are putting all this energy and promising all these things, you better believe you got to deliver. You have to make good on that promise, because you're out here promising all these people that, look, man, I'm making shirts, like these are going to be cool kind of thing, and you cannot let them down. Those are your people and they are counting on you. You've got to have some sort of self-accountability to yourself to finish this and to everybody else. And that's the biggest thing I see right now, is a lot of talk and not much backing it up. I see a lot of people who want to make a screen, or not a screen printing, but want to have a clothing line, but they're waiting for all their chips to fall into place. Or they want to start a clothing line, but for whatever reason, they just keep promising all these things and not much progress is getting done. Or the flip side of that is when you tell people that you are doing everything and how much effort and work you're putting into it, and 6-7 months have gone by and you still don't have anything. Like, now that I'm in this, now that I'm kind of like in this niche, I know when people say how, like when people say how hard they work on stuff, and then their product comes out, or whatever it is comes out, and it's like, really? It took you 6 months to make a homepage on the website that someone could have put together on drag and drop builder, like in an hour? You know, like, you can pick up on that stuff. So don't, where you are is where you are, and it's a very humbling place to be. It's not, it's something you should enjoy every single minute of, because you can't have it back. That first release, I cannot go back and redo things. I can't relive the experiences, and I can't feel what I felt on that first release. Like, that's like a very special time for me, because that's when I really kind of started to figure out things on my own. I figured out that I can support myself. I figured out that I can make things work. I can use my hands and my knowledge to make my dreams work without doing everything that I don't want to do. And it was a really cool time for me, and I loved it, and I wish I could go back, but I can't. So after that first release, let's see. After that first release, there was a little bit of downtime because I got married, and after the wedding, the first shirts that Laura and I put together, or we did together, were our crew necks, which were still a little bit better than the t-shirts, because we'd upgraded a few things in the process. We'd gotten basically an exposure unit to help burn our screens, so we weren't just like blasting them with sunlight kind of thing. So we were making small upgrades, we were learning things, we were testing things, and they came out better. They definitely came out better than the t-shirts. So we did the whole sweatshirt thing, and during that, yes, it was during that time. It was when we first decided we were going to do crew necks, the hoodies. Actually, I don't know. What are those called? Sweatshirts? What's a sweatshirt without a hood? Is that just called a crew neck? That's what I'm calling it. So a sweatshirt without a hood, a D hoodie, is we started documenting that whole process. And that's when it really clicked that people do care about what you're doing. Like, people will jump on your little wagon and jump on your trail if you give them something to follow. If you show them that, look, here's what I'm doing kind of thing, and basically lay out everything you're doing, then people do follow you. People honestly do care about what you're doing. But here's the catch. You have to care about them. And not in the kind of like, oh, I'll follow you if you follow me kind of thing. No, I mean like genuinely caring about them. I mean like, I will give you all of my advice and every ounce of support that I have and I expect nothing in return. That was the level that I went into this with. And I'll tell you what, that has been the biggest payoff that I could ever ask for. And I continue to do that now, even with doing the podcast series and the building a brand and the newsletters and the Facebook and the Instagram and any other little YouTube videos we do. Is all predicated around the fact that I want to give back to you guys to show you how much I appreciate you watching this, to show you how much I appreciate you spending $15 with us on a t-shirt or buying another article of clothing or anything like that. I want to show you that I do recognize each and every single one of you, which is part of me is so happy that but not part of me, the entirety of me is so happy with where we are right now. Obviously, I mean, you always want more, but there's just something special about living in the moment and knowing that you don't get this chance again. I will never get to record this podcast again. Like, the 21 minutes that I'm into this right now, I cannot redo that first 21 minutes. Like, that moment in my life is gone, and it's just so, I don't know, it's just something that's clicked with me, and it really pushes me to not only strive for more, but to absolutely love the path that I'm on right now, and to love the journey and this life that's been laid out in front of me. It's just so exciting. And when you get to that point, it's so humbling. And that's, I mean, we can talk about owning a business, we can talk about selling t-shirts, but I think the coolest thing is when people like myself, you find out who you really are. You find out what your passions are, and you find out that you can really make a difference in this world. That you're not just some average person. You may just be an average person, but every single person has greatness inside of them. All you have to do is find your greatness and unlock that potential. And as cliche and as dorky as that sounds, it's so true, but so many people will not find it. And if starting a clothing line is the way for you to find yourself, then I hope each and every single one of you listening to this up until this point starts a clothing line. And I will help you. If nothing else, for the sole fact that you will experience some of the things that I'm experiencing. You will get these feelings, and I can promise you it is amazing. And don't get this messed up. Not everyone is cut out for this. You don't have to start a screen printing business. You don't have to start a clothing line. You don't have to do this or that. You don't even have to have a YouTube, for heaven's sakes. You can, it's literally whatever you want in life. You can do it. And I just think too many people hold back on it. Wow, that got really off topic really quick, didn't it? I'm supposed to be talking about the whole journey and helping you guys out with your first release or anything like that. What other, let me think. First release items. I didn't have the greatest equipment. I actually filmed everything on my iPhone between the first and second release. And let's see, what other helpful tips? Even after you release items, you should be promoting them, because once I started promoting my t-shirts from the first release that I didn't promote at all beforehand, like on Instagram and everything like that, my sales went up, surprisingly. I mean, it sounds like common sense, but if you don't document it and show it, no one's going to know that they're there, kind of thing. So yeah, I don't know. I want to help out each and every single one of you that wants to start a clothing line. But all you gotta do is ask. I'm here. I am a resource that is freely available. And I will gladly help you out with anything that you need, whether it is screen printing, clothing line, whatever you want. That's the whole purpose of this. I mean, we are all one team. We are all here together. We are all pursuing resiliency. Whew. Man, did that sound good or what? That sounded so good. I don't even have a paper in front of me. I'm just shooting from the hip. So, holy cow, we seriously at like 25 minutes right now? Let's get to a minimum of 20. That's only in 7 seconds. That's not really a challenge. But yeah, I mean, even now, with us releasing our tanks, and sales are doing even better, and publicity is even better, and things are going even better, we're looking forward. And that's the only way to do it. You're not going to get to your second release without doing your first one, you know? And if that's where you are, then get that first one done as fast as you can while still maintaining some sort of quality. You feel me, dog? Well, that's all I got. That is literally all I have because I think that's everything I wanted to say. So yeah, if you've got any questions about a release or you want to start a clothing line or anything like that, drop them below and I'll see what I can do for you. Because I appreciate you, especially if you've made it 26 minutes into this. Because that's probably better than 90% of the people who start this. So good job. Kudos to you. Alright guys, appreciate everything you do. If you've got any questions, let me know below and I'll see what I can do about them.